Good evening, all. As human beings, we continuously seek for happiness and life with rich and varied experiences. During this journey, we face challenges around personal and professional life and reach out to gurus, coaches for clarity and perspective. Today, we try and answer such questions raised by various age groups. These questions were raised by youngsters belonging to various age groups on different WhatsApp forums. And to answer these questions, we have our life guru with us, Dr. Musa. Dr. Musa, sir, welcome.
Thank
Sir,
you. Thank you.
before jumping into questions, it would be great if you could help the audience with a quick intro about yourself.
Okay. First and foremost, I'm not any guru. Right? Thank you for the epithet, but yeah, actually, it's that I'm actually yet to meet a real guru. I really hope I do in my life. But yeah, so I have had my life experiences, a different set of journeys, and taken the less traveled path, and maybe that gives me a little different perspective than perhaps other people. Um, where do I start? All right. So, okay, let me start from the beginning. My mother is from Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. My dad is from Hassan, Karnataka. I was born in Bombay, then Mumbai, and I lived there for the first few years. Then came for schooling to Hyderabad for about 3, 4 years. But my entire childhood from age 8 onwards was in Africa, in Nairobi, because my dad got a job there with the World Bank and other institutions there. So, when it comes to my background, I've had this very varied life, which gives me very different perspectives. We came back to India in 1985. I did my schooling at Bishop Cotton Boys in Bangalore. And then I did my medicine at St. John's Medical College, both my MBBS and my MD. During my childhood, because my dad was with the World Bank, I got a lot of exposure to, economic stuff, and I went to conferences with him and things like that. Not that I understood anything, honestly, I didn't. But as a child, children have this affinity for strange words. They learn you ask a 3-year-old to spell rhinoceros, they will do that because it sounds very fascinating. Not that they understand anything. So same thing for me. Lot came across a lot of economic jargon, which at that time I did not understand. But much later in life, somewhere that interest came back. And I say this at the outset that I think life is not a straight line. It's definitely not been my straight line for me. And a lot of things are zigzag. And much, much later in life, it somehow becomes clearer about experiences you had 5, 10, 20 years back, and they make sense to you. So my life has been, very much like this. It's eating like this. It's not ever been going straight. After I did my MBBS and my MD, so during my MBBS, by the way, my dad had told me, seeing my interest in economics and finance, that, better finish your MBBS first, and then, you can think about what you want to do next. Since I am the eldest son of the family, at some point it was like, okay, start looking at the family's issues, finances, etc. And I started looking at that. And to cut a very long story short, I was quite, in a sense, surprised as to how less we had compared to what I thought we had. In the sense that my dad had, fantastic jobs and all that. So I really thought we were well off, but actually we were not. And when I got down to the bottom of it came very obvious to me that basically what had happened is, so my dad, like most people in life, is a first generation person, came from a very humble background, from a village, worked his way up in his life very hard, made a lot of money, but did not know really how to invest that money very well, right? And this was one life lesson for me, that a lot of us, and something perhaps we'll speak about in today's session, is that the entire system, the education, the society, the culture is all oriented around how to get a job, how to make money, how to work hard, and all that. But we are not really taught about money, what is money, how to manage money. And even if we do, it's basically like, okay, what are you doing? What am I doing? Take some insurance policy, take some PPF, blah, blah, blah. Now, seeing the situation of ours, I said, so I had this combination of this childhood interest in finance and economics and this situation with the family finance. And I decided to get into the world of finance. I was looking for teachers at that time. I was looking for gurus to teach me. This was almost about 25 years back. I'm talking about when 2005, 2003, 5, around that time. Honestly, didn't find anybody that I could really connect with or relate to, any quality stuff. And I decided, okay, like everything else in my life, I decided to jump into the subject myself. And I discovered that there's a whole world of, opportunity there that nobody's telling us. My journey basically started with the good old Economic Times of India. And I started to subscribe to it. And I used to read every article from page to page, whether I understood it or not. I had a dictionary with me, look up the jargon, and that's basically how I taught myself. One thing led to the other. Started getting interest in the stock markets. Very early realized that there is something called the stock. This was the pre-internet era. This was the pre-demat era. Everything was physical forms and certificates and stamp papers and all that. I'm not even sure how many people in the audience here will relate to that. But yeah, then there's this task of finding a stockbroker, and at that time you used to have to get referred to a stockbroker. It was that elitist sort of. But anyhow, found my way through, did something, made money, lost money, all that stuff, but really couldn't figure out, whether I was doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And like many things in my life, uh, luck has come my way many, many times. Maybe more stories on that later. But I have this habit, or had this habit rather, of going to every book exhibition that I could, see or anything. And there's this place called the Indian Institute of Engineers near Queens Road in Bangalore. Some of you may know that. And they used to have regular book exhibitions. So in the auditorium, they lay out these tables and the books will be stacked. And I used to go to every one of them. So I went to one of these and I used to go to every table, look at every book, whether it's a cookbook or a knitting book or an engineering book or whatever. There was this one obscure in the corner table which had books on finance. And I went there, and for the first time in my life, I saw this book called Edwards and McGee, Security Analysis. Right? That is the Bible of Doe theory of the stock markets. This was something that really opened my eyes. And I still remember this so vividly, in the sense that I did not have the money. It was 2,000 rupees that time, hardbound. I still have that edition with me. And I was so scared that it would all be running away in terms of getting sold out, that I ran home from there, about just 3 kilometers away, picked up the money and came back. And I was still doing my final year MBBS or something like that. So I wasn't really making much money. Had some stipend money. Came back and there were some 30 copies there, all dust covered. I took one. I'm sure none of the rest were sold anyhow. But I read that book, and that was a revelation as to what the stock markets can do. So something that really uh, put me on the journey of what the stock market is, and I've never looked back. And then later on, a few years later, me and a bunch of friends who were commonly interested in how do we invest our money, whatever little we were earning at that time. And since we're not having anybody, we decided we'll get together and we started something called the Bangalore Investors Club, which was basically a bunch of people coming together every Sunday morning at my house and having chai pakoda and discussing markets or discussing finance or reading the newspaper and teaching each other stuff. And it was such a wonderful experience because uh, we didn't have the internet. So everything was, you had to read, you had to cut the clippings, you had to organize. And I think there's a certain value that has been lost in that today with Google search and all. But anyhow, those were the days. So that's how I came up. Fast forwarding much later, I still was left with this feeling that I don't have a certificate. Now here's one of the challenges of any of us who are in the markets, uh, which is, how do you absolutely know that what you're doing, what you're analyzing, and what you're thinking is the right way to do things? We have read a lot. We've seen a lot of YouTube videos today. People watch hundreds of YouTube videos, listen to all sort of podcasts and all of that. But are you sure? And then even when you do your analysis, okay, are you buying 100 shares or are you buying 10,000 shares? Because if the share goes from say 50 rupees to 60 rupees, fine, you made 10 rupees, you made 20%. But if you bought only 100 shares and you made only 1,000 rupees, why did you not buy 10,000 shares? I'm assuming, of course, that you had the capital. And I think this is a real question that maybe we will think about, which is it's all fine to talk and say things and do analysis and WhatsApp groups and all that stuff. But when the rubber meets the road, the real point of making money is that do you have the confidence to put in a lakh or a 10 lakhs or a crore or 10 crores, assuming you have the capital? Or do you play the small amount and say, I'm just going to do a little bit with my money? So essentially, it is like this. This is the way I like to put it across. If you have a doubt in your mind about what you're doing or what you're saying, then you will never 100% commit to any action, right? If you have a doubt about whether your food is cooked right, whether the dal is right, whether the salt is right, you will hesitate serving it to a really honored guest, right? You want to test and double test and all of that. But then you see, your mom or your grandmom, she will know. She will know with the pinch of her hand exactly what the taste is. She doesn't need to taste. She's got that absolute confidence and she never did a good degree. Now, that is the sort of confidence if a person has in life, whether it is markets, whether it is, well, I'm a doctor, whether it's medicine, when I'm treating patients, am I sure about my diagnosis or am I second guessing? I have a doubt. Maybe it's viral, maybe it is bacterial. Then which drug do I, prescribe? So this issue of knowing whether, do I know that I know? Now, this was the first time in my life that I felt that I needed to test my knowledge in the markets. So till now, and this is an important thing that I'd like to convey. Maybe this is getting a little long, but I think it's worthwhile. That exams and certificates, most of us, we all know how we did our exams and certificates, right? I mean, okay, exam, last minute study, just pass, get that 50%, 80%, and I'm done. All right, good enough for getting a job. But in life, that never works. Because when it really comes to testing yourself, if you have a doubt and if you hesitate, then you will never commit. And this was my issue with markets, in the sense that since I'm self taught and nobody's tested my knowledge, I don't know whether my analysis is 100% bang on, right or wrong. So this is when I was looking, and again, by a stroke of luck, I got to know about something called the CMT, Chartered Market Technician, which is a certification that is given by CMT Association in New York. Any of you can go to cmtassociation.org and look it up. And I decided to do this exam. This was something almost 10, 12 years back. I don't really remember. I did not do this for a job or anything. Now, a lot of people know about CMT, but that time nobody knew about CMT. I went and did it, passed all the 3 levels at one shot, which is usually not the case. And when I finally cleared and I got the charter, that was when I knew that I knew. I don't know if this is making sense. I had to get that
No,
doubt out
absolutely.
because,
Yeah.
right? Because now I knew that I was tested and validated.
Yeah.
And now is when I started playing the bigger game in the markets. And then there's been no looking back. I now invest for myself and I invest in US, I invest in Europe. I'm also going to start in the Gulf this year, partly because my brothers moved there, so it's become easier. And so this has been a real fascinating journey. And at BIC, what we did was started creating programs for folks who are really interested. Yes, we have not done the programs for a few years, stopped a little before COVID, and then sort of never started, because the programs that we offer are really deep grounded programs, not the shortcut programs. Come and get rich scheme. It doesn't. Life does not work like that. It's as simple as that. So that's been my journey and what I've learned. By the way, I've never worked for anybody. I've always been on my own. So one of the things that I have is very close to me is the concept of personal freedom. And what personal freedom means to me is most important is that my time belongs to me, right? My time belongs to me. I do what I want when I want. So if I don't want to work today, okay, don't work. If I want to read a book today, something I love to do, then I do that. I'm not saying anything else is bad, but for me, freedom, the most important thing about freedom is time. Is my time mine? As soon as I give away my time to somebody else through a job or through a business or through something else, then that time is not mine. I've exchanged my freedom or my time for money or for something, but then that much freedom has been constrained. Second, do I have enough resources to do what I want? In the sense, if I want to buy a car, can I go and buy it right now, or am I constrained? Right? If the other part is, can I do these first two things? That is my time, and the second thing, the resources. Are they available to me anywhere, independent of geography? Now that's the amazing thing about anything online and the markets. That's something that I love, which is that, and also medicine nowadays, that I can be anywhere. I don't have to go to a certain cubicle or to a certain geography or to a certain factory. I can literally be anywhere in the world. Just need an internet, into my laptop, my software, and of course power in my trading account, and well, maybe my patience for doing what I love to do. Uh, the fourth thing, however, and this was added much later in my life as I got older, as you can see, is that fine, I can have time, I can have money, and I can have this anywhere in the world. But if I'm not healthy, there is no point. If I'm
Absolutely.
not fit and if I'm not able to walk on my own, if I need help for this and all of that, then what's the point? So in the last few years, I've again taken a turn, which is like I'm sort of now. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. So I did my MD. I practiced medicine for some time, and in between, after that, I was teaching medicine, I was practicing medicine, and I was dabbling in the markets and finance and BIC and all that, Bangalore Investors Club. At some point, I decided let me give myself full time to the markets and teaching, and I did that for almost about 5 to 8 years. However, never left medicine. But in the last 7 years, something interesting has happened, which is that I started to learn something called Tai Chi. Some of you may or may not know that. It's a very
Yeah.
slow Chinese art form, right? And then again, that happened by accident because a student of mine who came to BIC for one of my classes turned out to be a Tai Chi practitioner, kept telling me to say, come, 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 come. And I was like, how we are like, we just dismiss things. And one day he demonstrated something to me and he said, do you want to try something out? And I said, yeah, sure, why not? So he did something with me and I was like stunned. I mean, how can my body do this? I said, okay, I'm in. I went and it's been 7 years since I started Tai Chi. Amazing experience for me. It's done amazing stuff. And that's another whole hour I can speak on,
Okay.
actually. Uh, 3 years after that, somebody at Tai Chi introduced me to this. There was this guy, Ajinkya, who would run off from Tai Chi class as soon as it got over on Sunday morning. And we would all hang back for having a breakfast together at some place or the other. And he would run away. And one day he didn't. And I like, where do you run away? And he said, I go for yoga. I said, what's this great yoga thing that you have to go run? And then he told me about this yoga place he goes to. And I got interested in that. I'd never Googled yoga in my life. But it's how people around you work with a certain subject that impacts you more than the subject itself. That is what I've been blessed with. So this guy tells me about the course, and I said, okay, whenever they have an intro session, let me know. I will go. And I went. He told me about it, and I signed up for the first time. Never gone for a yoga class in my life. I signed up for a 10-month teachers training course. Went there and had amazing experiences. Learned a lot about. So the nice thing about the yoga course I did was it was not going to a gym and doing getting fit. It was done by two brothers who had been at the Bihar School of Yoga for about
Yeah.
10 years. So it was that authentic stuff. And I loved it the way they presented it in the sense that they also had this anatomy and physiology aspect
Yeah.
of it. And since I was a doctor and I was the only person in the batch who was a doctor, I just grabbed onto that. And they presented, the philosophy and the background without diluting it, without corrupting it, without modernizing it.
Yeah.
And it was all this asanas and pranayam and all this philosophy, the anatomy and explanations, very good explanation as to why you're doing what you're doing.
Okay.
And I want to end this by saying this. I think for the first time, I discovered how disconnected and I think society is from the ancient wisdom of our forefathers. Right? Tai Chi changed my life in ways, which will take time to explain. Yoga also changed my life. I'll just give you two, three examples. I no longer sleep on a bed. I sleep on the floor last 5 years, right? I sit on the floor and eat. Right now, as you can see, I'm not sitting on my sofa at the back. I'm sitting on the floor because I just do not like to sit on chairs and tables anymore. My workspace, when I do my markets, is just a bench. It has no back. right? All this is because something shifted for me. I lost about 15, 16 kgs. I've become much healthier. I eat a lot less in spite of doing a lot more. And this is all I attribute to Tai Chi and yoga, and whatever energies have been, I don't know, elevated, I would say,
Yeah.
a little bit in my experience. And it's been my deep desire to actually bring this back to and give it back to whoever cares to listen about it, and bring the concepts of a deeper, more meaningful living. And not only just with health and nutrition. By the way, I also did the Ayurvedic nutrition course. So let me also say, so yes, I'm a doctor. I did my MBBS, MD, all the allopathy stuff. I was good. I'm still good. But I have now incorporated Tai Chi, yoga, and Ayurvedic principles in my medical practice, and I now do restorative, structural, and functional health. Right, and I try not to prescribe as much as I can. If I take on a patient, it will be somebody who I spend hours with, and it will be a multi-session sort of thing, getting to the bottom of things to really heal people. So yeah, it's been a fascinating journey. I had my ups and downs. Uh, so I would say, multiple interests right now. So I have my one leg in the markets very firmly. I have this in healthcare and health practice. And something that I'd like to do is impact the younger generation, especially people in my family, extended family. I'm trying to see that they don't get caught in a rat race of life, that they live a fuller life. And, compared to even 20 years back, today the opportunities of living a great life are immense. However, the pressures, especially because of social media, of trying to be like this or like that, is, I think, at another level. It's just sheer madness.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's me. And thank you for that. Was not a short introduction. And thank you.
So, what a vibrant, career, and thoughts that you've added. I so connected when you said that you are a yoga practitioner, because I am
Mhm.
Iyengar yoga practitioner myself, and I hold a
Amazing.
certificate. So I know what you mean, how yoga can add a different spectrum to how you lead
Yep.
your life,
Yep.
both
Yep.
inside and out, especially the pranayama and the meditation aspects, which is
Mhm.
deeply, influential in the way how you look at life.
Absolutely.
So, with this, we will take our first question.
Okay.
All right. Always a software engineer's dilemma.
All right.
So, we came across Rahul, who is a software engineer, earns a salary of 19 lakhs, but, right, caught up in this rat race, as you said, his friends in the same role are earning 25 lakhs. This has
Mhm.
led him to spend his weekends searching for another job opportunity, causing him to lose his peace of mind. Because, Monday to Friday, Rahul is working 9 to 10
Right.
hours. Saturday, Sunday is the only time he get to rest. But now the 25 lakh is looking more lucrative. He wants to take up the job. Additionally, small issues have started irritating him, and he has developed a dislike for his colleagues. So, if what is your advice for our friend Rahul here?
All right. So let me just preface a little bit on this. So, first of all, I don't like the word advice. I mean, I think for each, it's really important for each person to figure out what's right or wrong. So, what I'm going to say is not necessarily something that Rahul or anybody would, follow, and that's fine. Having said that, there are some just key points that I want to mention on this. Um, you know, this whole idea of keeping up with the Jones. Somebody got 19 lakhs, somebody got 25 lakhs. Uh, Next is going to be 30 lakhs, is going to be 50 lakhs. This is a never ending, trip in life. Uh, Let me just address that a little deeper. What does Rahul or anybody really, really want in life? I mean, are you measuring your success by salary? Is Rahul and many people like him today measuring by the size of their house, the cars that they have, the credit cards? Well, I know we live in a materialistic world, but I think it would be extremely useful for Rahul. to uh, to really maybe take a break and think about what does he really want in life. If his friends and his environment are starting to irritate him, then, well, what does it say about Rahul himself? Is he his own man, or is he a victim of his circumstances? Because this will not end till he ends. And, the worst part, this is something he's going to perpetuate to the rest of his family and to his kids and all of that. Are you in a competition? If you're in a competition with who? Are you out to better yourself and elevate your talents, or are you there to compare yourself with somebody else? Because there's always be somebody. There's nothing new in what I'm saying. Buddha said this right from the beginning, right? That it's about you, and it's about your nirvana. It's not about anybody else. So I would tell Rahul, my suggestion to Rahul would be, and probably Rahul may not be able to do this alone. Maybe he needs support. Maybe he needs somebody to talk to, right? And I think I know it's vague to say society should offer that, but I hope this forum or people, individuals are come forward to offer that sort of a listening where Rahul can just speak and we can help Rahul to figure out what do you really, really want in life? And then go behind that and then measure your success with your own growth. And it's not just this overused word, inner growth. Well, there's an external thing aspect, right? You have to earn money, of course. Money is not unimportant. Money is very important. But maybe there are other things he can do to get money, to earn money, and he should look at that. All these other 2 points you mentioned about him spending time on his weekends to look for a job, and his friends have started to, colleagues have started, they're just, consequences of the first point. And it'll never end. He'll find another job, and after 1 year, he'll be in the same situation. Right? And the last thing I want to say on this, on a very realistic note, is all of us know about what's happening with AI and ChatGPT and Bard and all those things, right? So, what is the scope for software engineers per se? I mean, okay, his 25 lakhs will be there. He will get that job, but you and I know, we all know that the day he gets the job, 2 weeks later, he might lose his job, and he may never get a job back, right? And I think this is one of the things that maybe I should introduce this idea of what are in the markets. There are many things the markets have taught me about life. And one of the things that have deeply gone into me is in the markets, we have the concept of what is called a secular trend, right? Now, secular in this context has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. It has to do with something which is on its own sustainable over a very long period of time. So a secular trend is something which is usually 10, 15, 20 years, multi-decade trend. So just to go back, the IT secular trend started in the early 2000s. Anybody who got onto that secular trend did extremely well for the next 10, 20, 30 years. Today, I think the secular trend is not only about ChatGPT and AI, but the impact of ChatGPT and AI on the entire software ecosystem. An average software job is under threat, will be hard to find increments, and most likely you, even if you keep your job, you're going to see no increments, which means with inflation you're still going to see your income just actually go down, 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 down. So if Rahul's salary is still 19 lakhs or 25 lakhs after another 5 years, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because the entire ecosystem of software is being hit by AI. And I think all software engineers, including Rahul, need to take this into account before just jumping onto another job and then losing it after 2 weeks, right? So,
Yeah.
on a very practical note, fine, forget about inner peace and inner pursuits. Okay, no problem. But look at what the big new secular trend is and how is it going to impact you. And perhaps, not perhaps, align yourself in a way that you are not, at the least, not against the secular trend. And if possible, in line with that secular trend, you will do very well. So that's what I would say about Rahul.
All right. Thank you, sir. Are you suggesting looking out for an opportunity over the weekend for
Mm-hmm.
for as another stream of income is not a bad idea? What do you
Um,
say?
yeah, I see. So this is, I think, a very common. What do I say? uh, Idea about let me get a second job, let me moonlight, do me some freelancing, do on my weekends and all that. But again, okay, so let me just introduce this idea, which has, I think, become famous because of Elon Musk. Right? If you watch Elon Musk's interviews, he keeps using this term first principles. Right? The reasons SpaceX is spectacularly successful is that he decided that he is going to start everything from scratch. He is not going to buy things from the shelf, and he is doing things that NASA and no other space company has ever dreamt of doing, right? And he's doing them at 10% of the cost. Now, how was he able to do something at 10% of the cost? When people have asked him that question, they have said he has given example after example. If you watch his, especially his long interviews, which he used to give till a few years back, where he said, "Look, I would tell my engineering guys, forget about buying anything. You're going to design this in-house. These are the parameters. You know the engineering, and I want you to do this at 20% of the cost of what is out there in the market." And the thing is, Elon Musk has this amazing track record of pulling something like that off time after time after time after time. Just to give an example, the Raptor engines that they use on their rockets, they are producing them one a week. These are things that other companies take 1 year to make one, and this guy makes one every week. Because not because of any great engineering or any new inventions. He said, let me go back to first principles and ask myself, how do I make this from scratch? And just that thought of doing first principles thinking, I think, is a very, very sound approach to doing anything in life. So, coming back to your question, what should you do with his weekends? Well, what is the first principle? Is it money? Is it job security? Is it financial security? Is it health? Is it a balanced life? Well, if it is money, then fine, yeah, get another job. Keep going down that road. But then how long can you keep going down that road? Everybody has a burnout. When I was 15 years older, I saw myself saying, this is what I will do for the rest of my life. I'm so happy sitting in front of my screens and trading and this and that. Today, I'm not the same person. I don't want to sit in front of my screens and all that, right? And people change. Not just to go back, whatever Tai Chi and yoga has shifted for me too. So I think this thing about what should he do on his weekends? I would say on his weekends, if he needs the money, fine, find another job. But I think on his weekends, he needs to introspect and really look at in the medium to short, in the medium to long term. The short term will pass. I mean, it just goes before you know it. In the medium to short term, sorry, long term, where does he see himself going? Maybe he needs to re-engineer himself. Maybe he needs to learn new skills. And on that, I want to say one more thing. This retraining stuff that people talk about. I mean, how many times can a human being retrain themselves? Maybe we talk as though human beings are machines and you can retrain yourself endlessly with every new technology. That is simply not possible. That's for robots and software updates. That's not for human beings, right? So I think what Rahul needs to do is perhaps look at something which has a lot more stability on his career in the medium to long term future and align himself over the weekends into that stream. Maybe that requires trading, maybe that requires a different job, maybe that requires him to shift skills. I don't know, right? But that is what I think he needs to do in terms of securing his medium to long term future.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. The next question is uh, from one of
Oh,
our community speaker, Rima. Um,
okay.
Conflicting views. Rima feels overburdened as she manages the household chores alone, and her husband Raj does not support her in these tasks or participate in children's school activities. Right? However, Raj believes that he's working hard on his job to secure financial freedom for the family and build a better future. These conflicting views are leading constant fights, tension between them. Uh, when I hear from my own fellow mates, colleagues, this
Mm-hmm.
is the case in the 90% of the household, if
Right.
not outside India, but in India, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we, as young couples, try and manage this conflicting views? Because it is always going to be part of any marriage where both of them are working. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what would be your advice?
Okay, so I think This is advice I'm giving myself too. Conflicting views with marriage, they never end. So maybe after this session, I'm going to do some practice of my own
Yeah.
advice. Right. Uh, I think the much overused, much maligned, but absolutely bang on point issue is communication. Right. Uh, Expectations of oneself, expectations from the other, especially in marriage, when after a certain point, all the honeymoon is over and all those things, people start taking things for granted. You're supposed to understand the other person. You know, your spouse will tell you, you're supposed to know. Well, that's one, I think, one big blunder that all of us make, which is like none of us are mind readers, right? And unless you specifically communicate exactly how and what and the issues that are bothering or whatever, this idea that the other person should understand automatically without having to be told anything, I think it's a false idea. It's very naive. It is maybe a romanticized idea of how things work. Things really, really do not work that way. And especially as one has a marriage which goes longer and longer, you're not married to the same person that you were on the first day. People change. The husband changes, the wife changes, circumstances change, and a constant communication is something that really, really needs to happen. And on that point, I think, unfortunately, in our society, we are not trained to communicate properly, right? We are told to be good. We are told to behave. There are certain stereotypes and expectations about what a husband is, what a wife is, and we've seen this in our own parents, right? We've seen this how many of our parents. I can definitely speak about mine, where my mom never expressed her feelings or hardly did, right? And she would tell me, but she would not tell my dad, her husband, right? And then I don't know what to do with it. She's telling me now, what do I do? Go tell my dad and get beaten up, or tell my mom or things will be fine and all that.
Yeah.
And like we see in the movies, the elder son will say, "Ah, ma, I'll take care of all your troubles when I become older, or when I become independent." Well, by the time the troubles have changed, and whatever was paining my mom has gone so deep, it has affected the relationship with my dad, but she and him are the ones who need to fix it. I can't do anything. I can sit and help mediate, but if they don't want to talk to each other, or if the pain or the angst has become so deep, which is typical what you will see in our parents' generation for sure, is that okay, beyond a certain superficiality, there is not much, unfortunately, right? This is the truth in most relationships as things pass on. So I think really key is, and by the way, this sort of superficial communication, oh, you're spending 3 hours in the kitchen and I'm spending 12 hours in the office, doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't equate things like that. You need to go deeper. You need to really express yourself. And again, it's hard in a society where honest communication is often not, what should I say? At the very least, it's not welcome,
Yeah, it's not
right?
appreciated, right?
Definitely not appreciated. You start becoming honest, you're going to get a lot of pushback, right? And then you're going to have to work through that pushback, because the first thing that happens when people start becoming honest is the other person starts to think that you're accusing them of things, right? That you're blaming them for things and all. There needs to be a certain, I don't know, compassion, again, an overused word. I think we all need counseling. That's for sure. Right? And now, where do you get
Yeah,
counseling?
yeah.
That's another good question. There are a lot of open-ended things which there are no specific clear answers to. But again, like I said, I hope that uh, there are people that one can reach out to help mediate things. But again, the reluctance is, oh, if I start that, how do I look to the world? We all want to look good. We all want to show that we are all happy and our families are fine and functioning all okay. But have you noticed, when you start talking to others and start saying, look, they also start saying, I also have this problem. You also, oh, I didn't know you have this problem. But the problem is that we discuss that, but there's no solution that is found. And there needs to be a certain much deeper I know I overuse this word, way to communicate with the other in a empathic, in a appropriate manner without being, neither should you be defensive nor should you be accusatory, right? And that's a very difficult balance to have. Uh, for me, a long time back, I'm not promoting this and I'm not saying that anybody should do this, but I benefited a lot because I did a program called Landmark Education, right? Um, Again, one of those lucky accidents in my life. And that taught me a lot about myself and about how to communicate, how to distinguish real issues versus imagined issues, how to get to the, you know, what do I say? A common ground, a reality where both are empowered and both are trusted and build strength. But that was, again, an intense program. It's not something that one can accomplish by reading a book or, just listening to a lecture. It's something that one needs to really put oneself through. So if you are really committed, forget about committed to another person, but if you're committed to yourself, I would strongly suggest to people that they find programs that open up themselves to themselves, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? It could be maybe doing yoga, maybe going to a guru, or sometimes getting into. I don't like the word spirituality too much because it's so overused and misused and all. And spirituality can often be a place where people hide from their real issues in life, right? That's not what it is. Spirituality is there to empower you and to get you to deal with issues in your life. But it could be anything. It could be some, I don't know, landmark type education program. It could be aunt, uncle, a grandparent if you have, or a good friend, or whatever it is, or go to a counselor, right? Or reach out to a good friend. But do not, one thing you should not do is keep things bottled up and keep things festering under the carpet, because they will come back to bite you big time. It's just a matter of time, and they will affect your health, by the way, right? You will get sick in ways that you may not even understand. You'll be like drained of energy. It's definitely going to contribute to maybe you getting BP or diabetes or something like that. It's going to affect your children, right? Probably not have a healthy relationship for sure with all these things going on, and so you need to take the bull by the horns. There is no nice ways of getting around this. There will be pain, there will be chaos. One has to go through that to go to the other side, which is always a better thing, is what I would say. So conflicts are exactly that. They are conflicts. There is no nice way to deal with conflicts. You have to fight your way through them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I really like the picture on the screen. People sitting with their backs to each other with the big fat wall in between. You either have to climb over that wall or you have to break that wall. Either way, it is hard. Either way, it is hard. There is no two ways around it, right? And again, I'm hoping that there's a forum that happens here where people can come and maybe open up one on one, and maybe we can help them to take steps towards whatever their issues are.
Sure. So the first step towards conflict resolution is communication. Right? In
The
a
first
nutshell.
step is acknowledgement, actually.
Okay.
Most people don't even acknowledge that they have an issue,
They have a problem. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
have to acknowledge that, look, my life is not working. My relationship is not working. This part of my life or this part of my relationship is not working. I'm not getting through to myself and I'm not getting through to the other person. Most people don't even want to acknowledge that there is an issue in their life. Once you acknowledge, then you can say, okay, I have a problem, I have a pain. Now let me find a way to deal with it, right? Then you go ahead and take steps that you need to take.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Uh, I'll pause for a minute. Ayappa sir?
Sure.
ಹೇಳಿ ನಂದಿತಾ, once
Sir,
again.